Welcome to Adastra. And here we go with part 6. For those who need a reminder, we're picking it up just after Cassius storms out of Amicus's room. A few minutes later, Amicus is flat on his stomach, looking under his bed as he mumbles something under his breath. I stand awkwardly off to the side, watching as he sweeps the paw underneath as if feeling for something. What are you doing? Amicus grunts as he gets to his knees, then stands up, looking up at the ceiling as he turns in a slow circle. Well, looking for whatever Cass might have been doing. You know what he was doing? I have my suspicions. Which are? Amicus stops his turning and looks at me, folding his arms. Well, I'm not sure, but a recording device possibly, or he was just snooping for information. Can we just ask Com? No, his capabilities are very limited, despite what his intelligence might suggest. He doesn't record our activities specifically, so we can't spy on each other. Rules put in place millennia ago. I sigh and look at the door, still feeling a little shaken up at what had just happened. Why can't you lock the door or something? Amicus shrugs. That's something only the Emperor can do. Again, rules that have been in place for a very long time. That doesn't seem safe. Well, only the most trusted are allowed in the palace after all, which tends to be only family. Aside from the Pharaoh? Aside from him, yes. You don't have much freedom for being the Emperor's son. You just noticed? Amicus huffs and stands in the middle of the room, his arms folded, a deep frown on his face. He was probably just trying to find out what you're planning for the next trial. We know some stuff about him already. Amicus continues to look concerned. What is it? Amicus lowers his voice. Don't worry, it might have something to do with you. After what he said as he was leaving. It's left me uneasy is all. Oh yeah, that thing about executing me. I haven't had time to think about the possibility of someone on the verge of near absolute power wanting me dead yet. Do you think he was serious? Amicus is quiet for a moment. Oh, no, but obviously I'm not going to assume he wasn't. I won't even give him a chance at the emperorship now. I frown. And you were going to before? Oh no, I'm just going to make extra sure now. I'm quiet, deciding to sit on the bed instead. I don't like that this situation has become a lot more serious than it already was. After a moment, Amicus comes to sit next to me, the depression he creates in the mattress forcing me to lean sideways into him. He wraps an arm around me. Oh, don't worry at all about it. He has no chance, and besides, I wouldn't let him touch you. How would you be able to do that if he's the Emperor, though? Well, I'm also his older brother. Some relationships don't change, even if the official ones do. I stay quiet, unconvinced. Anyway, we look awfully bad on his record, and besides, he just let his anger get the best of him. He'll quickly forget about the matter when the next trial comes up. Amicus squeezes me. And this is all assuming he'd win. He won't. That's what you said last time. And we had an unforeseeable mishap last time. There isn't much possibility of one of those to happen in this trial. We sit there a while longer, Amicus rubbing my shoulder with his paw. Despite my rising anxiety, it's comforting, and before long I'm leaning my head against his shoulder. A week later, Amicus and I sit in the gardens, enjoying the cool, fresh morning air. So, what's your main argument? Well, Adastra has been on a steady rise politically and economically since the beginning of the Adastra policy era. Or why take steps backwards when we're so clearly moving in the right direction? And Cassius? Well, Adastra's decline over the past few hundred years is due to that policy. Instead of looking outward to the children and other siblings, we should be instead looking inward to better ourselves. Amicus scratches his nose. Well, that's the basics anyway. Obviously there is much, much more to it. So how are you going to counter that argument? Seems like a pretty good one to me. Well, if the wheel of your chariot is caught on a stone, does that mean the campaign should be turned around and ended? He looks at me and I just stare back. Well, the answer is no. You simply need to give it a push. In other words? Oh, in other words, the downturn over the past 200 years is simply a stone in the road. Why throw away 10 millennia of progress due to a few centuries of light hardship? Besides, it was completely predictable. The war with the Chemians and the resulting end of diplomatic relations with most of the other siblings caused it. We certainly can't have any leverage in the galaxy when the only siblings speaking to us are the cats. If we can fix those relations, we could be well on our way to prosperity again. Well, that and unstunting your children. Oh yes, that too. Which I still can't believe you did. Again, it wasn't me. Well, anyway, that will also be part of my argument. Appraise the children fully as the partial uplift programs are now clearly a failure. And end the slavery. And consider the debts repaid, yes. Debts that didn't exist in the first place, sure. Listen, Tibor. I have to use very careful language so as not to upset the people, or not to mention the triumvirates. Our feelings are sensitive at times like these, and must be considered despite how tedious or untrue it can be. Amicus is right. The wolves are very sensitive when it comes to their culture and history. Hey, Britain. I'm starting to realise their hubris is probably their biggest downfall. Hey again. I lean back on the bench, starting to feel a little sweaty under the rising sun. Isn't that going to be Cassius's whole thing, though? Appeal to their feelings, throw out the etiquette and get straight to the point? Oh, possibly. But I'm confident my composure and consideration will win over their triumvirates. You ever considered not being so confident, maybe preparing for the worst? Well, I'm confident I'm prepared for the worst. I roll my eyes and Amicus glares at me. Well, I don't understand why you're so insistent on projecting yourself onto me. Just because you aren't sure of yourself doesn't mean that I should be the same. I frown. Ouch. Oh, sorry. But I strongly believe in what I'm doing. How can I ever be an emperor if I'm not sure that what I'm doing is right? Sure. But all I'm saying is you might not always be right, and you need to be prepared for that. Oh, trust me. I'm learning as I go, and after the last trial I'm preparing for everything. How are they even going to choose the winner? Wouldn't they just pick who they agree with most? Oh, technically no. They're supposed to choose the best performance, the most convincing and dramatic. How very Wolven. So you just have to convince the majority of the triumvirates? Well, yes, but Cato's vote holds twice the power of a triumvirate vote, so I need at least either 4 triumvirates or 2 triumvirates plus Cato. And what are Cato's beliefs? Amicus shrugs. Well, he doesn't talk about them much, but again, it shouldn't matter. He's certainly right about Cato not talking much about himself. But that tends to be the way everyone is around here. I can tell Amicus isn't all that interested in talking about this, though, so I'll try to think of something else. And what started the war with the Chemians, by the way? Their ambitions got the best of them. They began to interact with some of our abandoned children, some of which were very close to Adastra. Oh, is that illegal? Or something? Well, technically not if they're abandoned, but it's never really happened, considering if a species is abandoned, then that's a signal to the other siblings that the race is unupliftable. So they weren't breaking any rules. Well, even if they weren't breaking laws, they were clearly provoking us by uplifting races just a few hundred light years away from our moon. They are an arrogant people. And the Pharaoh seems nice, always polite. Amicus smirks. Well, that's how they often get their way, a facade of niceties to pull you into their trap. Either way, the wolves are draw despite their technical advantage. Wolven tenacity beats Chemian tech any day. Despite Amicus's more progressive view on things, he's not immune to Wolven hubris either. But I'm not in the mood to argue with him about that. You know, the Pharaoh reminds me of a culture on Earth, the Egyptians. I wonder if they uplifted there too. Amicus looks down at me, then snorts. Oh, more likely they just share simple aesthetics. Your people being uplifted twice while having no knowledge of the Galaxius is impossible. The Chemians rarely abandon anyway. Actually, I don't think they ever have. They tend to have the best of luck. Amicus stretches. Well, honestly, though, this talk is boring. This is my only day off before the trial next week. We should be doing something fun. Like what? Amicus looks around and grins. Oh, want to practice Pugnu with me? No. Oh, come on. I know Amicus would go easy on me, but I don't really feel like getting sweaty and exhausted right now. Why don't we just go to the island and have a picnic again? Oh, yeah, great idea. Amicus grins and hops up, calling out to Com to get the food ready while I jog after him toward the sightseer. I stand on the beach, hands on hips as I look out to the sparkling lake, the breeze that's coming off the water cool and soothing. Adastra City sparkles in the distance as well, making the tall structures look like heavy glass or crystal coating. I look back at Amicus, the wolf in the process of spreading out a blanket under the shade of the trees. You sure Cato isn't going to kick your ass for doing this again? I see the wolf's ears flick down for a moment. Well, that was for missing an appointment. I don't have any today. I resist telling Amicus that it was about much more than a missed lesson, and instead I walk over to help him spread the blanket out more evenly. Thank you. Now shall we eat? Amicus pulls the cloth off the basket, revealing tightly packed and covered plates, along with bottles of wine and verdi. This time the food's a selection of wraps full of meat and cheeses, along with chilled, salted cucumbers. Amicus splays out in that luxurious Roman way as he pulls his plate of food up next to his chest, immediately stuffing a whole wrap in his muzzle. I'm a bit more dainty, instead sitting next to the wolf cross-legged as I nibble at my own wrap. We eat in silence for a little while, Amicus gobbling up the majority of the food like usual. I notice the wolf drinking more wine than he usually does, probably because it's his day off. After taking a particularly large swig, he points at my legs. I don't know how you're comfortable doing that. Looks like hell on the knees. Well, laying down like you are actually hurts my neck. I don't know how you do it for so long. I rub the left side of my neck as I say that, then carefully uncork a bottle of verdi. Cato's the same way, but he's old. I take a sip of the cold drink that I've come to really like over the past few weeks. Speaking of Cato, who exactly is he? How'd he become the acting emperor? I try circling us back around with the conversation we'd had earlier, wanting to know more about the wolf that's apparently ruling all of Adastra right now. Oh, well, he was father's friend since childhood. He was the imperial legate during the Chemian War. Is that an important position? Well, it's the highest rank in the military, aside from the emperor, of course. Well, he's credited with preventing outright defeat. Must be kind of weird for him to have Neferu walking around in the palace. Well, another reason why I wonder why Virginia brought him to the palace. Cato's scars aren't just physical. Physical? Well, I take it you noticed the visor, yes? Well, he lost an eye and part of his skull during the war. Eventually the other eye failed as well, and he had to go to our parent to have the mechanical vision installed. Anyway, Neferu was born decades after the war, so I doubt Cato holds anything against him specifically. Is he alright with the alliance thing? Knowing this about Cato makes me worried he might not agree with Amicus on one of his most controversial policies. Well, I doubt that, but I think he understands it's necessary if we're to begin re-establishing relations with the other siblings. I feel my stomach turn a little as I realise we might be disadvantaged in this trial as well. Amicus, what's going to happen if you lose this next trial? Again, don't worry. I know you don't think it can happen, but if it does, what happens to me? Amicus frowns at me, a meat wrap halfway to his face before it sets it back down. First of all, I won't have you worrying about Cassius's words. What he said was in anger, and besides, I'll have measures in place to stop it from ever happening. What measures? I'm not fully sure of that yet, but I will have them in place by the time the next trial comes. Very good measures. And aside from that, what do I do next? Amicus thinks. Well, like I said before, I'll ensure a way home for you. The problem is the illegality of you being here. The more people who know about it, the more likely a monitor may be alerted to what happened. I need to be very careful about who I let know about the situation. Okay. I look down at my food, suddenly having lost my appetite. Amicus sighs, sounding annoyed. Oh, come on, T-Balls. It's likely going to be your last few weeks here. Stop focusing so much on what's unlikely to happen. Let's enjoy ourselves a bit. The wolf suddenly sits up, brushing the crumbs off his fur before swigging down more wine. Come, let's practice combat. What? I said I didn't want to do that. Well, since you're so worried about Cassius, I'll teach you a few tricks to take him down. Take him down? Well, I don't trust him to keep his paws to himself now, so if he ever tries to take advantage of you while I'm not around, you can at least hold him off long enough to get away. Yeah, and that will make everything worse. Well, after what happened a few days ago, I suppose it can't get much worse. I slowly get to my feet, straightening out my robes. I'm not so sure about that. Besides, we just ate. Amicus laughs. Oh, it's not like you're Cato. I think I'll be able to keep my food and drink down. What about me? Well, I'm not going to hit you or anything. Amicus squares his stance, standing in the sand off the side of the blanket, still in the shade. I sigh, recognizing that Amicus is in one of those moods where it's hard to talk him out of doing something. I walk over to the stand in front of the wolf, my arms folded. Well, and about Cato. Well, I could probably beat him in a fair fight. He just caught me by surprise that last time. I paused, then raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? Well, I mean, he started fighting no holds barred without warning. Well, I'd have given him the slip if I'd known we were going to do that. Hey, I don't think any less of you any less for losing a fight to an old man. Amicus furrows his brow, the way he does when he's realizing that I'm teasing him. Well, I'm serious. So am I. I mean, you almost had me that one time in the spaceship. You're a real force to be reckoned with. Well, it's not smart to tease a wolf before a fight, human. I'm not teasing. And kicking an unsuspecting man in the balls isn't exactly a win in my book. It is in mine. Clearly. Speaking of which... Amicus suddenly steps forward, thrusting his knee up at my crotch. I can only watch in horror as it comes up fast, stopping just an inch from my groin. We both stand there for a moment, for I gasp and stumble back, holding my nuts even though Amicus didn't make contact. What the hell? Well, if you don't want Cassius to hold broken bones against you, go for the genitals. That should be enough to stun him. This goes for anyone else who might try to attack you. I nod and make as if to do the same to Amicus, but he's already blocking. Yes, like that. Though try to be a little bit more subtle. You telegraph your moves far too much. I stop struggling with the wolf, breathing heavily. Fine. Then as Amicus starts to drop his guard, I try to swat him in the crotch. He snatches at my hand immediately. Ah, better, Tibor. Though you should probably try something harder than a flowery slap. I try to shove the wolf away, but he steps to the side and gives me a shove as well. I trip over something, and it's not until I'm on my ass that I realise he'd stuck his foot out behind me. I look up at Amicus as he stands over me. The expression on his face showed me that he's trying very hard not to laugh. Well, tangle up his feet and you should be able to send him to the ground fairly easily. If he breaks any of his bones from the fall, then at least he can't say you did it intentionally. Amicus reaches down with a paw to help me up. I take it and he pulls me up easily, almost lifting me off my feet. Well, this is great and all, but I don't see how this is going to help me. It wasn't even me that broke his tail and he wanted me killed. Well, again, with me standing in his way, he won't ever get the chance to try anything, even if he intends to. This is only to give you a chance to get away from him. Amicus brushes the sand off my robes. Besides, this is useful in any situation. Not just for Cassius. Amicus chokes on his last syllable as I ram my shoulder into him, grabbing at his legs to try and trip him up, kind of like I saw Cato do to him in the amphitheatre. Obviously, someone as small as me going up against a hulking wolf like Amicus is bound to fail, but the wolf does stumble back a few steps. Hey! Amicus chuckles and I feel him let himself fall backwards to the sand. It reminds me of the last time we'd wrestled on the beach. Except now I end up on top with my fall cushioned by his body, my face bouncing against his massive chest. Amicus grins at me. Oof, not bad, not bad. A little more force and you just might be able to knock down someone as small as Cassius. I pin the wolf down, my hands on his shoulders. Oh please, I knocked you down fair and square. This time I'm the one to yelp on my last syllable. Amicus easily reversing our positions as he rolls us both over. I find myself staring up at the wolf, his massive paws on my shoulders, his knees spread to either side of my thighs as he's careful not to rest his weight on top of me. He grins down at me, chest heaving for breath as his tongue dangles out his muzzle a bit, the way it sometimes does when he's buzzed, giving his grin a dopey quality. He's hunched over me to the point where his tongue almost touches my nose. Though I try to keep my face in a scowl, I can't stop the smile from coming through, and pretty soon I'm laughing a little. I'm about to tell Amicus that this whole thing is hardly fair, when he leans down fully, pressing his lips to mine in a kiss. I gasp in surprise, but it's through my nose as my mouth is sealed to his. My eyes are wide, his close as he presses harder against my lips. As he'd bent over me, his paws left my shoulder to instead hold my head steady. One paw against my cheek, the other cupped around my head, his whole body huddling around my face. I don't move, not hugging back, but not turning away either. Instead, I just lay there as I feel my heart skip a beat, the feeling of the big, strong wolf crouched over me, kissing me, sending a thrill from my chest down to my crotch. The wolf's broad, cold nose twitches against mine, for a hot puff of breath escapes it and washes over my face. At the same time, Amicus suddenly rolls off me, our lips parting just as quickly as they connected as he flops to the side on his back, mirroring my spread eagle position. We lay there next to each other, my heart hammering as I listened to the wolf breathing heavily next to me. Aside from that, the only other sounds are the waves washing up against the shore a few dozen yards away. A few minutes pass in silence as I wait for the wolf to say something. He doesn't, and finally gets to the point where I have to say something. So... Amicus responds instantly with an innocent, inquisitive grunt. What was that? That? Oh, the kiss. Yeah. Well, I just thought I owed it to you after Mira. I botched it during the performance, after all. The wolf sounds distant, distracted, like he's not paying attention to me. I finally prop myself up on an elbow, looking directly at Amicus now. Really? Like a child, Amicus looks away toward the lake, not saying anything. I wait a while longer, giving him a chance to respond, a chance he doesn't take. I sigh. Talk to me. What is there to say? I frown. A lot. I'm kind of confused, honestly. A big huffing sigh, then. Oh, I like you, Tibor. Oh, quite a bit, in fact. I know. I like you too. We technically confessed our feelings to each other when Amicus asked me on that date, but only technically. Are you drunk? Oh, maybe a little, but I knew what I was doing. More silence. Amicus. Could you look at me? Amicus, his ears go flat, then he slowly turns his head toward me. His eyes are down, looking at my chest rather than my face. I think about making a "my eyes are up here" joke, but I know it'll fall flat with him. Listen, we've already sort of talked about this. The problem is the situation we're in. It makes the whole dating thing impossible. I see Amicus smile at the word, then frown again. I know. But if we feel the same, why not be a little closer? I know you'll have to leave soon, but that doesn't mean we can't enjoy the time we have together. Sure. But I think that'll make saying goodbye a little harder, don't you? Well, maybe. But we'll find a way to see each other again. What he's saying makes sense, but this whole situation has red flags all over it. Having feelings for my abductor in a situation that's completely illegal is so wrong in so many ways. Amicus is talking about it like it could be an innocent fling. This feels like more than that. The wolf has the same dejected look he'd worn when he came out to me a few weeks ago. So I reach out a hand and rest it in his paw. He looks at me then, ears still low, but his expression hopeful. I like you too. Everything's just so messed up and complicated. Yes, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have kissed you. Maybe not. I swallow. But I liked it. Amicus snapped his eyes back up to look at me. Really? Yeah. The wolf lets out a huge sigh of relief. Well, you didn't kiss back, though. It worried me that I'd made a mistake once again. I was surprised is all, and once again? The wolf seems to contemplate something, then turns on his side too, finally facing me. Well, about 5 years ago I shared my first kiss with another male. Oh? At the time there were rumours that I'd performed poorly with a female my father had arranged for me to be with. Oh. Amicus's ears turn red. Anyway, so this male approaches me during the summer festival. He was the son of one of the triumvirs of Tricelli. He made it very clear what he wanted from me. He kissed me on the balcony while a covert drone recorded the exchange. It was broadcast on the information channels the next day. I frowned. Why? Amicus shrugs, looking down at the sand. Well, Triumvir had a past grievance with my father. He used mine and his own son's sexual preferences to get back at him. What happened then? Well, father used his power to shut down the networks along with banishing the Triumvir and his family to Ancharis. Amicus nods up at the sky where Ancharis looms monolithically in its faded, chalky glow. It was obviously an unpopular decision, but father felt it had to be done. Obviously it's left me a bit worried about kissing and pursuing other men. I squeeze his paw. Well, you don't have to worry about that with me, obviously. I don't know anyone here, and I'm trying to stay out of other people's business as much as possible. Well, I know. Amicus squeezes back. I'm still sorry, though. I should have asked, or not done it. You're fine. Another stretch of silence, and I get the feeling Amicus is waiting for an answer, which confirms what he says next. So, if you're fine with it, did you want to date me? Amicus says the foreign word very carefully, and for a moment the linguist skips a beat in its steady translation, allowing to speak the word unfiltered. It's still his voice, but the heavy accent that comes through is surprising, even a little sexy. I know I should say no, though, the red flags fluttering ominously around our precarious, even dangerous situation. I'll think about it over the next few days and let you know. Amicus smiles a little. Okay. But you need to be focusing on the trial, so no thinking about this while I'm deciding. Well, of course. I groan inwardly as I realise I've just added another distraction to the wolf's goal of becoming emperor. You promise this won't distract you? Oh, definitely not. I give the wolf a look of disbelief and he responds with a glare. Tibor, I wanted this my entire life. I know I might not have seemed like it earlier, but I'm taking this very, very seriously. And I won't be a distraction? Well, of course not. In fact, I think it'd be rather positive for me to know that you return my feelings to some degree. It gives me even more confidence. Oh, God, no. Hey! Amicus sets a paw on my shoulder, and it looks like he wants to lean and kiss me again, but he doesn't. Thank you for understanding and for putting up with me. I have a good feeling about, well, everything now. I don't know how much I agree, considering our situation is causing us so many problems, but I set my hand on his paw anyway. Sure. Our relationship after that conversation is strange, to say the least. While it felt meaningful at the time, I realised later that we didn't really get anywhere, except once again admit to the feelings we'd been having over the past few weeks. Amicus is extra careful about touching me now, probably because he doesn't want me to misconstrue it for something more than it is. At the same time, our conversations have become less casual and joking, more stiff and awkward. I hate it. In any other situation, I'd want to just sit down and talk my feelings out with the person. But Amicus is different. First of all, he's an alien, and having the feelings that I do for an alien, a wolf alien at that, is weird. Secondly, this relationship, this closeness, it's just not important in the grand scheme of things. We're currently doing something so illegal that if it were to be found out, it could bring the entire empire to a standstill. At least more than it already is. So instead of playing out one of the cheesy woven romance dramas I've seen on the Adastra television, maybe instead I should be focusing on how the hell I'm going to exist in this empire, especially if the second trial falls through. But Amicus wants a relationship with me, that much he's made clear. I just wonder if it truly would help him like he says it will, Or if he's just saying that so I'll give him what he wants. I don't doubt that the wolf likes me, maybe even more than that, but we've only known each other for about a month. Do we really even know anything about each other? Despite all of this, and after a few days of thinking about it, I start to warm up to the idea. We both know it'll be short, an innocent fling like I'd thought of it earlier. I could be leaving for Earth at any time in the next month, but I can't deny that I really like him too. An innocent fling. The more I say that in my head, the better it sounds. Despite everything, knowing that I could have a relationship with an alien, the son of an emperor at that, that's kind of cool. Besides, he did say it would help him with his confidence for the trial. And finally, I'm tired of this awkwardness between us. Amicus is my friend, and I want to be able to talk normally with him again. I'm pretty sure making things official will clear everything up. I just have to go about doing it the right way. The day before the trial, Amicus shoos me and Alex out in the gardens, telling us they need to be tended to, considering that the camera drone is going to sweep over the grounds for an opening shot before the second trial begins. It's the first time he's ever really asked me to do a task. When I point that out to him, he says he also needs time alone to practice his speech. That makes sense, but it's still a little odd. Alex and I stand in the gardens, picking at the weeds just like I had on my first day at the palace. It's hard to believe a month's gone by, even with the 19-hour days. It's really only been about 3 weeks in Earth time. I get to work pulling up the small white flowers, the ones that seem to grow in every crevice of the garden. You'd think the drones would be smart enough to take care of the weeds themselves. Well, they don't have appendages to pull with. All they could really do is use their high-powered lasers. That risks starting fires. The drones have lasers. Oh yes, they need some form of a defense mechanism. Huh. I mean, it's not like they'd ever use it on you. Even if they did, it's not enough to kill you, at least not quickly. Just leaves nasty burns. I find myself continuing to glance up at an Adastran spider sitting motionlessly on the wall of the palace. Wish they'd use them on those hideous things. It takes Alex a moment to see what I'm looking at. Oh, Tibor, you know those are important for the ecosystem, yeah. I know. Doesn't make them any less disgusting. Imagine one of those things biting you. Indeed. Though honestly, I've been vaccinated so many times after coming to Adastra, the sharp, pointy things don't scare me so much anymore. We work quietly for a few more minutes, Alex lazily humming as I try to think of a way to bring something up they wanted to talk about. So? I watch as Alex's paws work fast, plucking the weeds with speed and precision. What's your relationship with Cassius like? I see Alex's paws freeze for a moment, then quickly return to their work, the dirty pile of weeds next to him growing larger and larger on the marble floor. Our relationship? You already know that, Tibor. I'm his pet, just like you're Amicus's pet. He smiles at me. At this point I decide to stop letting the cat play his little game with me. I give him a look that says, oh, come on, and I see his ears fall a bit. What? You know exactly what. I think it's pretty obvious the two of you are, I don't know, something more. This is the first time I've called the cat out on his polite pet facade, and see that it's thrown him off a bit. His ears are down, he's staring hard at his paws, pushing through the weeds, though he's no longer plucking them. That's such a forward question, Tibor. I wonder if his demeanour just has to do with his cat modesty, or there are actual laws against pet-master relationships. Come on, we're friends. Besides, I want some advice. Now his ears perk up a little. Oh, with what? Well, first I want to know if, something's going on between you and Cassius, then I'll know if you can answer. Alex sighs huffily and sits back on his rear, looking a bit childish with his legs and feet splayed out in front of himself. I don't know why it matters. I don't know how things are on Amorpha, but where I'm from, friends talk about their relationships with each other. It's actually strange not to tell your friend about who you're in a relationship with. Those ears are folded down, I can see how red they are. We're not in an official relationship, but there are feelings between us, yes. Really? Alex snaps his gaze to mine. Why do you sound so surprised? I'm not surprised, just fascinated. I'm not. You two are just really different. How so? I mean, do I have to explain it? Alex is quiet. Well, you're so reserved and quiet, and he's so... Now that I know Alex actually likes Cassius, I don't want to be too offensive. Cassius. Alex sighs. Yes, Cassius is very Cassius. There's a lot more to him than what he puts out in public. So, you like him? Parts of him, yes. Alex has lowered his voice to the point where I almost can't hear him, so I do the same. So, are you like in a relationship? I don't know what they're called on Adastra. Alex bristles. Well, it's simply called a relationship. The only official status is marriage. That's only between males and females. What about between males? There is none. Why are you so curious? Alex looks at me carefully, eyes narrowed. I shrug. Just wondering. I'd like to learn about the culture I'm in. I see. Are you interested in Amicus? Now it's my turn to blush. I know. Tibor, you can tell me. I thought we were friends. I get the feeling that Alex is a lot better than me at these games. I don't know, honestly. I guess I was wondering how I'd go about it if I decided to... Oh, that's adorable. All I can do in response is blush a deeper shade of red. Oh, sorry, you're asking how to tell a wolf that you're interested? Yeah. Well, between males it usually happens naturally without saying so. If you haven't noticed, there's a stigma against same-sex relationships on Adastra. Even the status of a relationship unsaid makes it less likely that you'll be found out. I think for a moment. Amicus seemed to want me to make the relationship official. I guess he's just going by my standards then. He probably wants me to ask him to date me Earth style. Alex goes back to plucking some of the weeds. However, I feel that things are changing, though very slowly. Honestly, someone like Amicus becoming emperor would be really something. I'm about to ask Alex about how the room was about Amicus, when I suddenly hear footsteps. I look up half expecting to see the wolf, but instead... Cato simply stares at us, his paws behind his back as usual. A moment of silence goes by before Alex suddenly stumbles to his feet, paws clasped in front of himself before bowing low. I quickly follow suit, a few seconds behind the cat. As I bow, I notice how dirty my robe is at the knees. Alex remains bowed, so I do the same, listening as Cato's footsteps come closer. He stops a few feet away and I can see his worn, blunt claws at the top of my vision. He stands there for a very long time, not saying anything, forcing me and Alex to remain stooped. As my back starts to ache, I realise he must be doing this on purpose. Are we in trouble for something? Finally he speaks and I almost jump. Alexios, Tibor, how are you this afternoon? Alex straightens up and I do the same, stifling my groan of relief. If Alex is sore, he's not showing it at all as he fixes a smile on his face. Oh, wonderful, Your Imperial Majesty. I hope the same is for you. I open my mouth trying to think of something to say, though Alex didn't leave me much room to do so. Doesn't seem to matter though as Cato starts speaking, reminding me that I'm still supposed to be a near-mute primitive. Unfortunately no, Alexios. I was just in the city today and I was hearing some unfortunate rumours amongst the officials. Another long pause. Oh? The corner of Cato's mouth twitches, and while I usually have a hard time knowing what the old wolf is thinking, I can tell that right now he's not happy. Indeed. Rumours about Cassius's intentions involving the triumvirate if he becomes emperor. It takes me a moment to know what they're talking about, then I remember. The triumvirates? I wonder why. Alex puts on a very innocent, confused look, even though I know that he knows what this is about. I wonder as well, so I'm curious to know if either of you have heard the rumour, or possibly the source of the rumour. Immediately I feel sweat start to break out on my forehead. I'm glad I'm already sweating from the heat. Well, I'm sorry to say that I do not know, Your Imperial Majesty. And the moment of silence goes by, and that's when I notice that Cato's waiting for me to answer. I choke on my words for a moment, adjusting my brain to dumb ape mode. What is triumvirates? Cato's mouth twitches again. Anyway, I'm on my way to Cassius's room to let him know the news. Please accompany me, Alexios. Yes, Emperor. Alex quickly hops to attention as Cato turns with a twirl of his robes, heading back up the path as Alex quickly follows. I'm left to stand there alone for a moment, watching the two of them disappear amongst the bushes. So, someone had told some of the officials about Cassius's plans to eliminate triumvirates. Despite Alex's innocent act, I assumed it had to be him. Either that or it was Virginia. I wonder if Cato's already suspicious about Alex, and if that's the case, it could all come back to me. I hope not. The idea of playing politics amongst these passive-aggressive wolves is not at all appealing. I spend a few more hours weeding the gardens on my own, knowing I won't be able to make much progress on my own. After a while I meander around the gardens a bit, wanting to go back inside, but not really wanting to bother Amicus while he studies. While I'm doing that, though, I think more and more about what Alex and I have been talking about. Should I just confess my feelings to Amicus, close the awkward gap between us? I know it's weighing on his mind. Maybe asking him out will give him that boost he needs to win. Maybe I'm just trying to convince myself. I realise that it is something I want to do. If I'm going to do it, it's probably best to do it before the trial, to set his mind at ease. Carefully I pick a few flowers from the gardens, not making the giant bouquet that Amicus had made for his own proposal, but enough to look nice, at least in my opinion. As I walk to the wolf's room, I have enough time to second-guess myself. Maybe this isn't such a good idea, but my heart is hammering in my chest as I approach the wolf's door, and I'm sure my face is bright red. I try to keep my breathing under control as I stand in front of the door. What should I say? Maybe just imitate what the wolf did back when he asked me out? Yeah, that'll be funny and cute, right? As I start to feel myself getting cold feet, I just reach up to the panel, pressing it, deciding to just throw myself into this. The scene that I come upon is probably the last one I would ever expected. At first, I think the two of them are fighting. The Pharaoh and Amicus obviously have some kind of tension going on between them, so seeing the jackal splayed out on the bed while Amicus growled and snarled above him, pinning him down, well, a fight is all that would come to my mind. But yeah, after a few more seconds of staring open-mouthed at the scene in front of me, I slowly realise what's actually happening. While Amicus might be snarling, the Pharaoh's letting out grunts and groans that are clearly full of pleasure. His face and body say it all too, the jackal writhing and twisting under the wolf, pouring at him as he says words that don't translate to the lingua. If that isn't enough to tell me exactly what is going on, then what's bouncing against the jackal's tightened abs is. I guess the sounds they're making covered up the sound of the door opening, because neither of them look up. Instead, they both continue to go at it while I stare in shock. A part of me doesn't want to make any sudden movement so as not to attract their attention, while the other part of me just stares in fascination. Never having seen anything like this before. A few times the Pharaoh tries to reach up and touch Amicus's face, and each time the wolf bats it away or pins the paw down. Amicus seems irritated almost, like he's more annoyed about the situation than anything else. The Pharaoh is practically opposite, somehow maintaining that trademark smirk of his while all this is going down. And then, of all the moments for me to walk in on their little session, they seem to reach their peak. The Pharaoh lets out a series of short moans, a strange sound from someone as refined and reserved as he is. I can see the results as it splatters against his torso and face, his hips jerking frantically as his face morphs into a look of strained pleasure. Meanwhile, Amicus's moan is long and deep as he thrusts harder into the jackal, freezing up before practically melting over the other canine. His expression is a lot more goofy and fits the wolf's character perfectly. I just sort of take this all in, still trying to understand what the hell is going on. I mean, I know what's going on, but I don't know why. There's a certain amount of horror that goes with my reaction, as if I just walked in on my parents doing it. I guess I'm at least glad that I'm seeing it at this angle, which means I can't see what's going on under the Pharaoh's hips. I realise then I need to get the hell out before they see me. As they both gasp in their sticky mess, I slowly start to back out. That's when the door automatically closes behind me. Now that things are quiet, nothing covers up that sound, and as one, the Pharaoh and Amicus look up at me. I stand there, feeling as if I'm in a dream as they both stare at me. I must look like an idiot, my robe dirty from the gardens, flowers dangling from my right hand, my mouth hanging open in fascinated horror. Amicus looks most shocked of all, though. I can see a million thoughts running through his head, clearly not having wanted me to see this. His reason for sending me and Alex out to do menial yard work is very clear now. The Pharaoh, for his part, isn't wearing his usual suave smirk. Instead, it's surprised and even maybe a little guilty, like not even he wanted me to see this. I open my mouth. I But then any will to smooth over the situation somehow, make a joke of it even, leaves me. With both their eyes on me, I turn and almost run into the door, having to drop the flowers on the ground to press the panel. Somehow I feel even worse than I had when I left the throne room in disgrace after the dance. The door slides open and next thing I know I'm jogging out into the hall. As I do, I hear Amicus struggling for words. Tibor, wait! There's some rustling sounds, followed by a yelp from the pharaoh before the door slides shut. The only sounds are my echoing footsteps. I'm not sure where I'm going, I just know I need to get as far as I can from that situation. What I just saw is only now sinking in, and so is the hurt. What the fuck? That fucking wolf tells me in love with me, or at least they're interested in me, and the next thing I know he's fucking that jackal? What the fuck? Well, I guess I'm more angry than hurt. I must have looked like such an idiot standing there while one of them was getting railed. And to walk in on that moment. The pharaoh's been so clearly into it, and Amicus looked so mean and aggressive. The whole thing was just awful. Well, awful to walk in on unexpectedly in another context. My vision blurs for a moment, but I refuse to let myself cry over something that wasn't even going to be serious. I was going to offer Amicus that stupid fling, and that was it. He wasn't obligated to have eyes only for me. In fact, I knew he was into Nefero. We'd already discussed it. So this is fine. This was expected. Actually, I wasn't even expecting anything. No, the reason I'm so embarrassed and feel like shit right now is because I walked in on 2 alien dogs butt fucking. That was weird and messed up, and I just need to collect my thoughts for a moment. That's when I realised I don't really know where I am in the palace. Most of the hallways look the same, and this one is no exception, though I know I'm deeper in than I've been before. Oh, Tibor! Amicus's footsteps pound against the floor behind me. I don't know how far away he is, considering the echoing halls can be deceptive, but I immediately take a right to a particularly large set of double doors. The room I walk into is full of smells, good ones like a garden. The air is cool and fresh, even as afternoon light pours in from an opening in the ceiling. All the while there's the sound of soft trickling of water from a small fountain in the centre of the room. I stand there for a moment, eyes scanning for anyone else that might be here. When I don't see anyone, I move closer to the centre of the room, looking around at the floor as I try to calm my hammering heart. I know Amicus is probably going to find me soon. All he has to do is ask Com. So I fold my arms, trying to look casual, realising now they would have just been better for me to hang out in the hall, maybe laugh when Amicus came out. I'd have made a joke and acted like it wasn't a big deal, but it's way too late for that now. Sure enough, the door slides open and Amicus stumbles in his underwear, his fur completely mussed up, chest heaving for breath. Tibor, I need to talk about... He doubles over, paws on his knees as he gasps in his breath. I cringe as I see my flowers clutched in one of his paws. I still try to look casual, keeping my arms folded. What? About what you just saw. Don't worry about it. I shrug before busying myself with brushing off my robes so they don't look so dirty. No. I want to explain what happened. You don't need to explain it. It's none of my business. Well, it is. It's definitely not. I snap at the wolf. Who you fuck is none of my business. That's all up to you. Don't let me tell you who you can and can't be with. Amicus frowns deeply at me. What? You heard me. I don't want to hear about it. I'm not here for this shit anyway. Well, here for what? For... I throw my hands up in frustration. What just happened? For sex or love or whatever the hell is it you guys do? Whatever you told me you wanted on the island. I point at the flowers in his paw. I'm just trying to get home. I feel my eyes straighten to water up again, and I stubbornly swallow that down right quick. No, that's not what that was. Please, let me explain. I shake my head. You guys have sex. It's casual, I get it. Humans can be like that too. Amicus takes a step forward, but I take one back. I guess it's just a little fucked up that you confessed your feelings 2 days ago, and suddenly you're just fucking another guy. This is all so ridiculous. Not only the situation I'm in, the fact that I feel so hurt by the wolf, even though nothing has really happened between us except an alcohol-fueled kiss. Amicus takes another step forward, his paws up, staring wide-eyed at me. Well, that's not what happened, and if you'll let me explain. Then what did I just see? What you saw, it was... more of a transaction than anything. What, they've come? Amicus chokes in surprise. Well, yes, I guess. I made a deal with Achemian. What deal? Well, I'm sure you remember our problems with Cassius. About him wanting to murder me. Yes, that problem. What about it? Well, I did say there wasn't something you should worry about, but like I also said, I'm taking all precautions. Yeah? Yes, so... The wolf pauses. What? Well, I realise now that I should have consulted you on this, but it was my only immediate option. What option? Well, while Cassius might be willing to execute my pet, he wouldn't dare touch the pet of Achemian. What? The wolf rubs behind his neck with one paw and speaks very quickly. Well, if I were to lose the second trial, I made it so your ownership would transfer to Neferu. You become his pet. I stare at the wolf. Well, this would ensure that Cassius would not dare to come after you. Or if he did, it might upset the very delicate relations we have with Achemians. A moment of silence passes. So I'd become Neferu's pet. Well, if I somehow lose the trial, yes. I stare at the wolf. Are you okay with that? Amicus. Again with him doing things without even telling me. No conversation, no warning, no consideration. After all this time, he still doesn't see me as an equal. Amicus sees my expression change and quickly jumps in again. What's the best alternative? Mainly because the Chemians likely use their own stretch. Neferu would be able to get you home if he had to. So to pay him... He wanted sex and only seemed interested in that, yes. Now trust me, I took no emotional pleasure in it. I'm quiet. Oh, don't worry though, I made sure the contract we agreed to ensures that you will not have to be involved in anything like that. Well, in fact, you'd almost be treated like a pharaoh. Amicus grins proudly. I stare at the wolf for a while, suddenly feeling numb. You feeling better? His voice takes on a serious tone as he reaches out and pushes the thumb pad across my cheek. The action is intimate and I turn my head away. We stand awkwardly for a moment and Amicus holds up the flowers. You dropped these. I shake my head. They were for you. Amicus winces. I thought so. Were you going to ask me? I feel my face getting hot. Yeah, but now I'm suddenly enveloped in a very tight hug. Oh God, that was the absolute worst moment for you to walk in. I'm sorry. Finally Amicus steps back, holding the slightly wilting flowers as he stares at them. Well, I hope after that you're still considering? I sigh and shake my head, to which Amicus's ears fall. I'm just a stupid primate to you, aren't I? What? I told you before to just talk to me if you're planning something that involves me. Why couldn't you have at least give me a warning, especially for something like this? You what? Well, it was sudden, and I thought the idea might hurt you after what happened on the island. No shit, so you went behind my back? I know sometimes you don't even think, but you knew this would hurt? No, I've been so busy. Well, not to mention negotiating these things is complicated. I'm just trying to do what's best for you. Without really thinking about me or how I might feel about any of this? I'm always thinking about you, every damn hour of the day, and this is on top of the trials. Believe it or not, Tibor, I'm stretched a bit thin, and it'd be helpful if you could work with me. Work with you how? That you manipulate me into becoming your boyfriend, then watch you fuck another guy, so I become his slave instead? Now it's actually going to become official? I can't stop the words from spilling out of my mouth, wanting to hurt the wolf just as much as he hurt me. The wolf stares at me. Then Amicus's hackles rise, but instead of instilling any sort of fear in me like it normally would, I feel satisfaction. Tibor, I will not have you accusing me of such a thing. I was more honest with you on the island than I have been with anyone in years. Not about what just happened with Neferu. What, you think I owe you celibacy? We're not dating, and you refuse to do anything with me. Well, it may come as a surprise to you, but even in times like these, I have needs. So you did want it. Amicus looks about ready to explode, and for a moment he just stands there in silence, practically shaking. He opens his mouth, and instead of the shouting I expect, it's almost a whisper. I may not know how these things work on Earth, but you know how they work on Adastra. You said yourself that these matters are casual. What happened with the jackal means nothing to me. You mean so much to me, which is why I did it, to keep you safe. I shake my head. Well, seeing what happened in the bedroom hurt. It's really only the tip of the iceberg with what's wrong with all of this. You actually cared about me. You care about what I want. You keep telling me how smart I am, but here we are again with you doing stuff without any of my input. Do you think I'm too stupid to understand? No. You know, you wolves are all the same. We're all just stupid barbarians to you. You don't treat me as an equal. You look down on me. Why the fuck would I want to be with someone like that? That is not even... Just win your stupid trial and send me home. If you don't, just blast my ass off into space. I don't want to be here anymore. I turn, heading for the door. Wait, please. Whatever he's going to say suddenly cuts off as I hear a loud thud. I don't look back to see what he kicked or punched. Instead, I head out into the hall, not sure at all where I'm going. I just know that I hate everything about what just happened. For a while, I don't know where to go. I end up pacing the halls of the palace before going outside to sit in the gardens. I don't see anyone. It's weirdly calm outside, especially considering the Emperor could be decided tomorrow. I wonder how things are in the city and the rest of the Empire. I look out toward the faint city skyline, glinting gently in the afternoon light. Amicus doesn't come after me. Should he? I'd said such horrible things to him. But even now I feel like I had to say them. Well, maybe not the manipulative part. I know he hasn't been that, at least. I only said it because it was the only thing I could think of to get back at him. I'm tired of being treated like an actual pet, and now that I might actually become one. Still, I kind of wish he did come after me again. I do believe he's only trying to protect me. Thought what he was doing was the only way to do that. But after everything on the beach, after everything I've told him after I've already told him to just keep me in the loop. Honestly, if he'd asked me about it at first, even just told me about it, I'd probably have been okay with it. Sure, maybe a little jealous, but okay. I realise a lot of this anger is because I just feel betrayed. I feel that way because I really, really like Amicus. I'd expected him to treat me better after everything. The late afternoon heat is making me sweat, but instead of going inside, I just move over under some shade. After a while, I lay back on the bench I'm sitting on, drifting off to sleep. When I wake up, it takes me a while to realise where I am. I stare at the flowers and leaves, gently lit up by the garden lights, till I remember I'd fallen asleep there. Groggily, I call out for Com, and according to him, I've only been out for about 2 hours. The sun here always moves fast across the sky. I brush a few leaves off my robe as I get up and walk toward the palace, realising at this point I can't exactly avoid going back to Amicus's room forever. At least it'll force us to talk about things after we've cooled down. At least I hope he's cooled down. My pace starts to slow as I get closer to his bedroom, unsure what to say after everything that happened. I decide I'm going to apologise, but also expect an apology from him as well. We both made mistakes, but we could get past this if we talked it out. Dinner is still sitting next to the door on its cart, untouched. I pause, my hand hovering over the panel, remembering what I saw the last time I opened this door. Shuddering, I steel myself and press it. The room's empty. No wolf in sight. Cold air creeps out of the room, chilling my bare calves as I continue to stand in the hallway. I realised then I was holding in my breath and I let it out slowly. I look up and down the hall in case I might see Amicus, but as always it's empty. With a soft sigh I slowly walk into the bedroom toward the bed, before changing direction to sit on the sofa instead. Connor told me there's the 18th hour, which means Amicus should be getting ready for bed now, a schedule he follows almost religiously. Maybe he's getting ready for the trial somehow? That would be good, but I'm also getting the uncomfortable feeling that he's just avoiding me. That would be bad because despite what happened, he shouldn't be thinking at all about me. He could be the Emperor tomorrow. So I sit there, hugging a pillow, waiting. After a while I grab the food from the hallway and manage to eat a little bit. I wonder if I should save some for Amicus, but decided he'd be able to get his own food from the kitchens instead of these cold leftovers if he ends up returning. So I send the rest back with the drones and continue waiting. After a few more hours, Amicus still doesn't come back, and I end up laying down on the sofa, waiting to fall asleep. The sound of the door opening jolts me awake, and I quickly sit up, turning to look. Amicus? I stare at the jackal for a moment, feeling a sudden surge of anger in my chest. Hello, T-Boy, are you not coming to the trial? I look around. What time is it? The 7th hour, which means the trial starts in less than an hour. Where's Amicus? Preparing for the trial. He hasn't been back all night. He was meditating most of the night. All night? Indeed. I frown at the jackal. What do you want? The pharaoh walks further into the room slowly before stopping in the middle, a good 15 feet away. To escort you to the trial, if you'd like. And to also talk. About what? I've already told you don't need to play stupid with me, T-Ball. I sit up straight, turning to face the jackal more directly. I'm not. I'm just wondering why the fuck you have the nerve to show up here after taking advantage of Amicus like that. What? I don't think I've ever seen Nefru caught off guard, so the sight is kind of funny. I smirk. Well, that's certainly a way to look at it. What other way is there to look at it? Plenty, if you'll let me explain. I sit back on the sofa, crossing my arms. Amicus already explained. I become your pet to protect me from Cassius. In exchange for that, you made him fuck you in the ass. Again, the jackal looks shocked. Then he laughs to sound high and soft. Oh dear, there are so many ways to look at this, aren't there? His suddenly cheerful mood irritates me. Listen, I honestly don't want any part of this. Yes, but you're already a part of it, whether you want to be or not. So please, allow me to explain some things. I don't say anything, keeping my arms folded, my expression bored. The jackal seems to take that as his cue to continue. Amicus approached me about this deal a week ago, shortly after the incident with Cassius. It seems simple enough, and I had to agree with him. Your position in this power struggle is becoming ever more precarious. I raise an eyebrow. How so? The rumours about Cassius' intent to disband the triumvirate has saturated the trial, even though Cato has banned all discussion of it. Word is that Cassius has realised who might have started the rumours. The pharaoh looks pointedly at me, though I try to keep my expression neutral. This has implications for you, obviously, but not only because you possibly sabotage his chances at the throne. I feel my stomach turn a little, realising I've gotten myself into way more than I've ever intended. This also brings into question your intelligence. Far too intelligent for a simian, wouldn't you say? I open my mouth, but Neferu goes on. Now, with all of this considered, it was only natural for Amicus to come to me for help. Your life is in danger, Tibor, no matter the facade these peaceful palace halls might project. I stare at the jackal, surprised at how candid he's been with me. He asked me what I wanted most, and I answered truthfully, an alliance with the wolves if Amicus were to become emperor. Of course, he outright declined, as he should have as the prospective emperor. How could he promise something so important with so many implications, all over one pet? So, knowing that was impossible, I offered something a bit more selfish on my part. Copulation with a handsome son of a wolven emperor. To this, he only needed a few moments to agree. I grimace. But I want you to understand something, Tibor. If Amicus had found even that disagreeable, I would have simply asked for nothing. It is the duty of all Chemons to protect any sapient fleeing wolven violence, whether they be sibling, child, or abandoned. Pet ownership is illegal where I am from, and the idea is quite disgusting, don't you agree? The pharaoh glances at me. But wolves love their contracts, and no matter how different Amicus might project himself to be, he is still a wolf. He despises the idea that he might owe something to a Chemian. And his quickness to accept the deal showed me that despite how much he wanted to not want to fuck me, as you put it, there was a part of him that did. In the end, he was willing. I look away, frowning. And I think this is something that has caused a rift between the two of you. You must understand that sex is casual here. It means nothing more than indulging in our corporeal desires. It's one of the few cultural similarities we share with the wolves. I've been told that simians are much more similar to cats in that such things hold much more meaning, but you are no longer on Simia and must understand that things are different here. Even if he wants to, which I believe he does, Amicus can't change his philosophy over the course of a single day. I finally find room to speak. You're acting like we're in a relationship or something. You aren't, but you want to be. Amicus loves you. It's as clear as Vita, as they say here. I feel that little thrill in my chest and my face flushes furiously. The pharaoh just goes on like he didn't actually just say that, though. So yes, if you don't like the idea of Amicus fucking another man, then claim him as your own man. I frown. Claim? I'm going by wolven terms here. I'm sure you have your own. Didn't the pharaoh just ask me to ask Amicus out? Now, does that clear things up for you? Even though I just woke up, I'm already feeling exhausted. I guess there was a little more to it than that, though. Which I'm sure can be settled in the future. Civil discussions can do wonders. Now, we really must be getting to the trial, if you're wanting to go. The pharaoh raises an eyebrow at me. I find myself shaking my head, but not to deny the jackal's request. Rather, it's because I don't know what the hell this guy is up to. I get him and the pharaoh offers his arm to me, which I stare at. Shall I escort you? This is something I've seen the jackal do multiple times to Virginia and Alex. For some reason, he seemed to really just enjoy escorting people around. After his little lecture, I can tell he's trying to smooth things over between me and Amicus. So, reluctantly, I reach out and take his arm in both hands, if only to please him. And pleased he seems to be, a tugging at the corner of his muzzle making me think he's trying not to smile too much. As he guides me out the door, I find myself feeling out the fur on his arm. It's much more silky and smooth compared to Amicus, not quite as fluffy. It's not as nice as Amicus's coat, but it does feel nice in a different way. There's a lot of muscle there too. I wonder if the jackal works out in the amphitheatre, although I've never seen him there. I guess I can see why so many people are into this guy, if muscles are your thing. As we continue through the halls, I notice we're taking a different route to the one to the throne room. Where are we going? To meet the star of the most asinine entertainment show in the galaxy. What better way to determine the fate of all things, siblings and parents alike, than through a meaningless woven spectacle? What? The pharaoh paused in front of a door, gently pulling away from me, while his paw is held delicately up to the panel. What I'm saying is that quite a bit is depending on your wolf right now, and he might need some encouragement. I'm still staring at the jackal when he finally presses the panel, opening the door. When I look back, I find myself looking into a much smaller room, simple and bare, just a bed and a dresser. The air is thick with a calming smell of incense as it creeps into the hallway and washes over me in a warm wave. And there, sitting on the bed, is Amicus. For I can look back at the pharaoh, the wolf suddenly looks up. We both stare at each other for a moment, then the wolf is suddenly on his feet, stumbling toward me. He stops himself halfway across the room, though, paws clasped in front of himself. I've never seen him so dishevelled before. His fur is stuck up all over his neck and shoulders, his cape is askew, his eyes are red and bleary. Before I know it, I'm walking into the room toward the wolf. Are you okay? Amicus tries to smooth his fur down, but it sticks right back up. I'm fine. I was just meditating. You look awful. Isn't the trial in less than an hour? Yes. There's a moment of silence that goes by as I just stare at the wolf. Are you going then? You should get ready. Tibor. I stop, waiting. The pause is long, and when Amicus finally speaks, his voice is so quiet I can barely hear it. I don't think I was meant for this. My heart sinks. Meant for what? Oh, everything in this damned empire. I've done absolutely nothing right. Everything has been handed to me on a platter my entire life. The first time I actually have to fight for it. Oh, I know you don't think I took this seriously, but I did. I tried. I wasn't prepared, and you were right. See a little wetness around his eyes, but he aggressively wipes at them with an arm. While weeks ago I might have welcomed this epiphany, this is the absolute worst moment for it. Oh, I couldn't even keep my best friend. I would have been a terrible emperor. It takes me a moment to realise he's talking about me. Amicus. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't tell you everything. I treated you poorly. I got you into this stupid mess in the first place. And then I can't get you out of it. The wolf's voice catches on that last part. I wonder with some astonishment if I'm actually going to see him cry. But he manages to hold it together, looking down at the floor. Oh, I just wanted to do what was best for you. But I wasn't thinking of you while I did it. I was inconsiderate, and I'm sorry. Amicus stands there quietly, apparently finished. I don't know if this is more about me or about him feeling inadequate for the emperorship. I have no doubts our little fight yesterday caused it, though. Seeing the wolf like this, it hurts, but also makes me kind of angry. This isn't the Amicus I know. I reach up, setting a hand on his shoulder, and he suddenly looks up at me. You're less than an hour away from becoming the emperor. You need to act like it. Huh? You think your dad would have acted like this when he wasn't sure of himself? Your grandfather, Drusus? There's a time and a place, and now it's not the time. I don't know if that's the case, but I'm grasping at straws at this point. Aye. And honestly, this is about a lot more than you or me or anyone here. This is about the lives of millions of sapiens, about your entire empire. You think it all deserves to go to shit because suddenly you're not really sure of yourself? You're such a good person, basically the opposite of what this society is, and you want to put that into your rule. That's amazing, but now you're suddenly willing to give it up? What the fuck is wrong with you? Yeah, you made a bunch of mistakes, but that doesn't matter now. What matters is you make sure that piece of shit brother of yours doesn't take the throne. So you better get your ass out there and beat the hell out of him in this stupid debate. After a moment, I realise the wolf is smiling at me. It takes me a moment to calm down from my Hollywood movie pep talk. What? I am going to go out there, T-Ball. There's no doubt about that. I was just having a moment. I was trying to be more honest with you. But thank you. I frowned. Well, you sure picked a hell of a moment to have it. I know. After yesterday, I've just been having a terrible time, is all. I needed to apologise to you. I deflate a little, but there's some relief there too, seeing Amicus somewhat back to his old self. I forgive you, but this is a lot bigger than us right now. Well, I know it is. What I'm feeling is a lot more than what happened between us as well. The wolf sets a paw on my shoulder. But I'm honest about what I said. Well, I'm sorry, I will never do anything involving you without your consultation again. And I will take your cultural differences into better consideration in the future. I look up at Amicus at his earnest face, and I find myself hugging him and he hugs back tightly. We still need to talk about things, but we can do that later. You need to kick Cassius's ass first. Oh, I know. Amicus pulls back, both paws on my shoulders now. And I will. There's a gentle clearing of her throat behind us, and we both look back to see the Pharaoh casually lounging in the doorway. If you're finished, the trial begins in 30 minutes. Immediately Amicus scowls at the sight of the jackal, but he nods. Oh, I'd better be going then. So you're feeling better now? Oh, much better, thanks to you. I smile as I feel a wave of relief, even though this is just like Amicus to be so easily cheered up. I allow the wolf to pull me toward the door. The Pharaoh moves out the way as we exit the stifling meditation room. All right, I'm on my way to a shower. I'll be watching. The rhetoric thing, I mean. I'll look for you, and we'll talk after this? Yeah, we'll talk after your emperor. All right. Amicus leans in to kiss me on the lips, then pauses before planting it on my cheek instead. With that he winks, then turns and dashes up the hall, running at a full sprint. I hear a soft chuckle behind me. Well, that went rather well. I didn't think that would be half as easy. I glance back at the jackal as he basically reveals he'd planned all of this all along. I guess it was obvious. Shall we head to the throne room? They'll be wanting us sitting down early so they can film us. The whole thing's a dreary spectacle after all. All right. With that, I follow the jackal toward the throne room, hoping that what I said to Amicus is enough to help him win. In just a few hours, I'll know if I'll be leaving soon, or staying for a long, long time. Either way, I'm just glad that this happened. That's quite the update there. And yeah, if you play the Patreon, there are some changes in there, and they're good changes as well. I'm still wondering what the Pharaoh's up to. I still don't trust that jackal. Or Alex, to be honest. I think there's a lot more going on. Personally, I think the only person we can trust is Amicus. And if you couldn't tell, Amicus wasn't the only one trying to hold it together there at the end. It's so easy to act for. You can really get into him. Yes, that wasn't intended. Anyway, yes, so I'm not going to say too much. I'm only doing this because someone asked me to give my opinions a bit more. So I'll try and do that from now on. But yes, it's a good update. I mean, Adastra is just going so well, and I have to wait till the next update now to see what happens. But I know what I want to happen. I just got to wait to see if Howley goes through with it or not. Well, that's enough for talking about my things for now. You have better things to do, so until next time, bye for now.